How's it going?
Good. How are you?
You know it's good.
We've recorded so much stuff today. But I feel like we saved the best for last.
We know what's happening.
Yeah, we
in
know
each other's lives.
We're now. Did you move on to wine?
Yeah, sure did.
Me too.
I started off with a cocktail, drank a beer, and now I'm having a wine.
I'm only on my second beverage because I had a coconut water and then a beer and then now I'm having a wine.
I'm drunk, guys. In case you didn't know, I'm Erin.
Oh yes, that's Erin. I'm Nicole. This is Dude That's Fucked Up.
Welcome, peeps.
Welcome. Would you like to make this?
I'm not
exciting?
drunk. I'm just feeling cozy. Huh?
You're just feeling cozy. It's the holidays.
Yeah, I have.
And
I'm
why
full
are people
hygge.
judging us anyway? Everybody stop.
I don't care.
No,
Never cared.
Never care, will never care.
Yeah, can't stop, won't stop.
Can't schnapps, won't schnapps. You're welcome.
Like Krampus. He loves them schnapps.
Speaking of
or your
shops,
grandma watching your fucking game in the stands of a cold night. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on.
Okay, but speaking of shops.
Shops or schnapps?
Shops.
Oh. Yes. We have a shop that is live on our website, dtfupodcast.com. After what seems like years, but is actually just weeks, maybe months of teasing it, we have t-shirts now available for the people. There are logo t-shirts that are tight as fuck and not tight like physically, but like cool, like really fucking rad. And
I mean, it could be tight as fuck if you order a size down, so just consider it.
If you want. Yeah, think about it. Do whatever you want. Show off that bod. And we also have stickers, and that's all we have so far. We're just fully jumping into the commerce end of our podcast now. So check it out. You just click on the store link at the top of the navigation on the website, and you will get to the store. So that's fun.
So exciting.
It's very exciting. They're actually in production now as we speak. So once they're done, they will be sent to us, and then we will in turn send them out to you. So it's kind of a pre-order situation. So
yeah.
We have a limited quantity. Mm-hmm. So order now to get your shirt spoken for.
Yep. Yeah. It's a pre-order limited quantity sitch. So you're going to want to get on that. We're going to send them out after the holidays.
Yeah.
So you could get yours now and reserve it by paying for it.
Yes, that's how it works.
We're soup's excited.
Yeah. And we'll have we have a little discount for all of our Patreons. So our patrons, on Patreon. I don't know what I'm saying. But if you're a patron to the pod, you get a discount.
If you're a pod patron, then yeah, you'll see it on the Patreon page if you're a Patreon. So yeah. Yep. Oh my God, it's so exciting. I just can't believe it. I can't wait to wear my shirt all the time. And then when people are like, "Oh, what is this?" I'll be like, "Oh, it's like this really like cool podcast with like these two cute, like super cute girls." Ladies, women, and they just like have so much fun, and they're like really funny. I'm gonna do the rest of this podcast episode in this voice. It's like really nasally.
No.
But why? But this is about the Hilton Sisters, and they talk like this.
No. Oh my God, it's the worst.
I'm not.
Okay, so the shirts are up for sale on the website, and we're gonna segue into this week's topic now.
Yeah,
the Hilton Sisters.
Oh, I love it. You guys, Paris and Nikki Hilton are like, I don't know if you guys know this, but
icons.
They're icons. I mean, talk about personal heroes. I just am in awe of everything they do.
Their lives are so interesting.
They belong to basically American royalty. Also, Paris Hilton is a musician and a DJ, and she is talk about a talent.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of her song or any of the words to it, but I know it was legit. It made history.
Did it? I don't think it did.
It charted on the top 100.
It was number 1 on the top chart, the top charts. No, we're not talking about those Hilton Sisters, guys.
Oh my God.
Not Paris and Nikki. We are talking about Daisy and Violet, who are conjoined twins.
They shared a butt cheek and a hip.
Yeah. Who were born at very early in the century. 1908 to be exact, in Brighton, England. So this is as far from the Hilton Sisters as you like. They are the Hilton Sisters, but they're not Paris and Nikki.
Yeah.
As far from those sisters as you can get.
Mm-hmm.
They were born to a unwed mother, or unmarried, unwed barmaid named Kate Skinner. Mm-hmm. And she was just doing the best she could. So they were born in the early 1900s. So what chance did she have to raise these girls who were just this was the first time, first of all, that any conjoined twins actually survived beyond a couple days. Ever in England. So they were very special from the very beginning. So
I think it's partly to do with how they were conjoined, because they have very separate, like we just said, they're conjoined by a butt cheek and a hip, and so they share a circulatory system and obviously a pelvic bone type thing, but they don't share any vital organs, which I think historically has been not great for conjoined twins. When you share something like that, one, it's hard to separate you, and two, sometimes one of the conjoined twins kind of bogarts the vital organ, and so the other one doesn't really get what they need from it, and then the other one, it's like a runt situation, and the other one might perish, and then the other one eventually perishes because part of you is dead. It's very odd.
That's why so I think there's different categories of conjoined twins. When you share multiple vital organs, you have a very low chance of surviving. So these women, though, they shared a butt and a hip, but at the time they didn't have a really good way of separating conjoined twins. So they were born.
So it was
very
early.
painful labor, as you can imagine. Yeah, very early. Babies were hardly born in that were totally quote unquote normal as it was. It was, the mortality rate for infants at the time was pretty fucking low. So I think these women are a straight up miracle, because they thrived basically.
Oh yeah, more than thrived.
Health wise,
they became famous.
Yeah. They became famous. They became some of the most famous conjoined twins in history. Yes. So, so just want to make it clear. There's nothing fucked up about conjoined twins, just the way they're treated by society. Yeah. And these particular conjoined twins were basically bought from their mother.
Okay, this is where the mom's an asshole, because she would refuse to breastfeed them because she thought she was being punished by God. And so the midwife, Mrs. Hilton, would come over every day and feed and bathe the babies because the mom was like, I can't be bothered.
Okay, first of all, I don't think she's an asshole because she has a very limited knowledge of like what babies are even supposed to be. Like, I'm serious. Like, and people have fucking like major like depression, like postpartum depression.
Yeah.
And so, can you imagine like, first of all, having a baby in general, and then it being just two babies that are totally not to society's standard of what babies are supposed to be, and you have no education, you have no money.
It's almost like animalistic in a way, because you know, like how if you have a litter of cats, like a cat has a litter, and then if something's wrong with one of them, they'll like not feed them.
Yeah,
but then it dies.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why these conjoined twins died so often, because the person who birthed them did not know how to take care of them or did not want to take care of them. Like, mentally, people are not prepared to take care of them because society is so fucked up. Yeah. So that's all I'm saying. Like, I don't blame the mother. I think it's fucked up that she had this like initial reaction. Yeah. However, she's not the asshole.
Well, she couldn't have cared for them anyway. But
she could not have done.
But she did sell them to someone, and that's kind of fucked up. I'll at least give them away.
What would you do?
At least give them away.
What would you do? If you had no money and you needed to survive, like, I would. And also, this was her employer.
True.
It's like a position of power, like telling you, let me just take them. And then being like, I don't know if you should just take them. And then her being like, let me give you money for them.
Maybe.
And then, but her whole end game, the woman who actually bought them, her name was Mary Hilton. Yeah. So that's where they get their last name, is from this woman, Mary Hilton. She bought them, basically, is the commonly thought thing that happened. And she bought them from the biological mother, and she was the employer, and she had money, whatever. She had the power in the situation. Even though, like, that's great that she was like taking care of them and stuff, but she like saw an opportunity in these girls.
She was a businesswoman
from the very beginning. Yeah. So that's why I don't think this woman who had the babies was an asshole. That's all.
She's like a less of an asshole.
She's just a dodo.
She's a dodo hole.
She didn't know.
She's a dodo hole.
Yeah. I don't want to shame somebody who's like who just gave birth, a very painful birth, and
oh my god,
then has, because there's somebody
connected.
Being
like she had to like, it's like a double wide human that you're birthing out. Yeah. Also, we can shame her. She's dead. It doesn't matter.
No.
Did you just laugh wine up into your eyeball?
I did. I sprayed wine into my face. Oh
all right, let's move on. So whatever, we won't talk about the mom anymore because she's gone.
Yeah. So her employer buys her, Mary Hilton. Yeah. Asshole. She's the asshole. Even though she like assisted in the birth and like was super nice and like hanging out and helping with the kids, she basically saw the potential in them as an attraction from the very beginning.
Yeah.
So what she did, she owned a pub, and she put them on display in the window of the Queen's Arms, which is the name of the Brighton pub that she ran with her husband. Mm-hmm. So when they got too big for the window, though, she moved them into a back room and charged people and Mary Hilton charged 2 pennies for people to view them. So remember, this is like early 1900s.
Yeah.
Brighton, England. And then she charged people more to like, if they wanted to touch them where they're joined. She like charged people more for that.
Oh my god. Yeah. That's rude. Okay, I have to admit something before we go any further.
Oh my god.
Okay. I went to school in upstate New York, and they have like the fair, the New York State Fair. It's very big. I mean, just like the LA Fair is or something, but it's more kind of like in the middle of nowhere. I've never been to a fair like this where it's like more
like old school.
Yeah, more old school. And they had like a sideshow type thing where you pay like $5 or something, and it's like come see the come see like the conjoined turtles or whatever. And you go in and it's kind of like a Ripley's Believe It or Not, where it's like a lot of artifacts. There's no, nothing's real. They kind of sell you in on it where it's like going to be really like, oh, come see these fucked up things. But everything's like taxidermied. And you're like, oh, okay, well, this isn't that shocking or interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they were like, come see the world's tiniest woman. And I was like, oh, what? I was like, could this even possibly be? So I was like, I want to see it. And Pete's like, I don't want to see it. Or her or whatever. I didn't know what it would be. I was like, oh, is this going to be like a hologram of a lady like at the end of Haunted Mansion or something?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I want to see it. So I went in by myself. I go back there and it was a little person, like actual woman, but very, very small, like smaller than any person I've ever seen in real life. And she was just sitting in like a little armchair watching TV. And I wasn't expecting it. Like after going through the first part, I was like, this is like a hoax type thing or whatever. And she was a real lady, a little lady. And so I was like, hi.
Whoa.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, hi. And she just was like, hi. And like was just watching her soaps or whatever.
She's like a proportional person, but she's super small, right?
Yeah, that's kind of what
like it's like a really rare form of dwarfism.
Yeah, so that's why I think what this lady had. And she was sitting like it was like an armchair like for kids probably on top of a table. She was the size of a child. And then I was like, "Okay, bye. Thank you."
Oh
I didn't know what to say, so I said thank you and I left. And then I was like, "Oh my god, Pete, it was a human. It was a real lady." And he was like, "What? No way." And I was like, "Yeah." And then I felt really bad that I paid to see her, but I don't know that she cared or whatever, but I didn't think it would be a real thing after like the hoaxy type thing in the beginning. So I was like, I don't know. And then I felt bad.
Crazy.
Yeah. But she was an adult, so I don't know. But we'll get into like why it's fucked up, because that whole, I mean, this was in the 2000s, like mid 2000s. So by then, people knew kind of like how badly people were treated in like sideshows and stuff. So sideshows aren't really a thing anymore, but they used to be.
Because they're exploitive.
Right.
Exploitative.
Yeah. Totally.
Exploitative?
Yeah.
Exploitive? I don't know.
Exploitative.
It's fucked up.
Yeah. They're fucked.
Yeah. So that's what this woman, though, Mary Hilton, was doing to these girls. She was like exploiting them completely and getting money for it.
Yeah.
So she was charging people money to touch them, to look at them. It's like, it's crazy.
It's so sad. And they were just babies at the time, but as they got older,
yeah, they were like 3 years old.
Yeah, well, as they got older, they started taking them out of the pub and like putting them on the circuit. Like they'd go on like tour essentially.
Like, and do like variety shows and like stuff like that, where they'd be kind of on display in other circumstances.
Yeah.
And they were called the Brighton United Twins.
Yeah. I guess because they were from Brighton and they were united.
Yeah.
That makes sense, I guess.
Yeah. It makes sense. It was just like,
yeah. And I mean, like,
it's a little obvious.
I know. They should have kept their original last name Skinner, because they were like connected by the skins of their butts. I don't know.
Skinner, I barely knew her. I don't know. Sorry. So as you can tell, Mary Hilton was a fucking bitch.
Yeah.
Like, she sucked so bad. And we're going to tell you why. Like, I don't really like to insult women in this way, but this woman sucked so bad. She was terrible.
You can insult
she was evil
women. It's fine. And
she's fucking
and we're not
sucked.
like, oh, she was ugly, she was fat or whatever. We're like, no, she was a fucking bitch. She was abusive. She was totally abusive. She made them call her Auntie Lou, which, why? Her name's
I don't know
Mary.
where that comes from.
I don't get it. Maybe that's
her middle name.
Yeah, and maybe
Louise
she
or
like
something.
felt, maybe she like didn't want to get all like wrapped up in like her real name getting, when she beat them. Maybe she like took on a persona or something.
Oh yeah, compartmentalizing. I like it.
Yeah,
okay.
But she was awful.
I don't like it. I understand. I like the theory.
Yeah.
Yeah, she had her husband and her biological daughter Edith kept them under very strict control.
Yeah.
Like all through their childhood, they just like would tell them what to do, how to dress, whatever. And she beat them into learning to sing and dance, and they eventually learned their respective instruments, which were Violet learned to play the saxophone and Daisy learned the violin. So they became like pretty accomplished musicians, and they could sing and they can do all this stuff. So it's like they were just these like performing little monkeys on display. It's pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
And they wrote a memoir, I think either in the late 40s, early 50s, about how and they describe how fucked up Mary Hilton was to them. And they say that she would wear a belt and whip their backs and shoulders with the buckle end of the belt.
Ew.
When they would misbehave. Yeah.
Oh, God. That's so sad.
So they were severely abused. They were treated like shit. All their money went to Mary and her husband, of course, because they were too young to like have any control over it. First of all, can you imagine being just like a young girl who's like orphaned, basically taken in by this family, and you're not their child, and they let you know that you're not their child, but they also like let you know that you're a freak and you're outside of the norm, and then they like beat you when you're not behaving in the way that they want you to.
Oh my God.
And then you like literally can't escape anything because you have no autonomy over yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're not just one person. I don't know. It's fucked up. It's so fucked up. It makes me so sad.
Yeah.
This story is so sad.
You have no autonomy because you're not just one person.
You're not. You're like truly not.
I know. Yeah, they didn't have. I mean, also, it's not like you could run away and like hide because you're fucking two people. So you don't just blend in easily. So there's not much you can do.
They shared their butt and their hip. They had two sets of legs though, and I think they only had. Did they have two sets of arms? I only think they had one arm.
No, they had two. Like literally, it's like if me and you kind of like stood next to each other with our hips touching, like
that Matt Damon and Greg Kinnear movie, Stuck on You.
I feel like they were
terrible and problematic.
Yeah, I feel like they were more conjoined than these ladies were. These ladies were like it's just almost just barely conjoined. Like today, if these ladies were born, they would definitely be separated. They'd each be given a partial fake hip. They would be totally fine. Like modern medicine, totally fine.
Yeah.
They didn't have anything that they shared that was like a problem. So it was like literally just at the hip, and they shared some skin and stuff. So
got it.
But still, back then they couldn't. It was still too much.
Yeah, and infections were like a real thing. I mean, as they are now, but
and you
like,
had to
they
have money.
didn't have the. Yeah.
So. Yeah.
And no doctor wanted to like do it and like fail at it. So
yeah,
it's pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
So anyway, they just lived their life like this, and they were beaten horribly by Mary, their adoptive mother.
But they started to become like pretty good singers and like cute little dancers and stuff. So I mean, she saw and grew something in them, I guess. And they like, it wasn't just like, oh, they're conjoined. That was a thing, but they also became like somewhat talented, and so they went like on the variety circuit.
Yep. They played quote dime shows, which were the variety shows. They traveled all around the world, traveled to Australia, across the outback, to perform in the circus. And of course, like I said, all the money they earned went to Mary and her husband. And then they meet Meyer Myers. Who's a balloon salesman.
You know how you're supposed to be like suspicious of people with two first names, but it wasn't even like his name was like Todd Phillip. It was Meyer. Like he had two of the same first names as his first and last name.
Like John Johnson.
Yeah. Or
Tom Thompson.
Or like just John or Tom. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Meyer
weird.
Myers.
He just added an S onto the end of his last name. he was a balloon salesman, so that tells you all you need to know about his whatever. I don't know.
Oh my God. What a weird
He's like, you
job.
want some? Yeah, I'm a balloon salesman. You want some balloons?
Oh,
I don't know.
I wonder if he ever made his way to Cleveland.
Probably. He's probably responsible for that whole fuck up. But he ended up liking and marrying Mrs. Hilton's eldest daughter, Edith, her biological daughter, Edith, and they got married. They became a couple.
But I think it's because he could, like, he wanted to get involved with this family because he could, like, smell the money.
Yeah.
You know?
He was savvy. He was ready to jump in there.
Yeah.
So by 1915, the girls are like 11 at this point. Mm-hmm. And they make their way to 9.
Wait, they're born in
1908. They're 12, like 12 or 11. Yeah. Math. We can do it.
Well, we've had some beverages. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right.
Well, in 1915, they're preteens, let's say, and they make their way to the United States. Mm-hmm. They get there by way of San Francisco.
Yeah.
I think they're probably coming from Australia at this point. So
yeah.
They're going to San Francisco.
Yep.
And they land at Angel Island. Mm-hmm. And just like Ellis Island, they have a, whole system of screening the passengers, and they held them at the port.
Yeah.
Because they're conjoined.
Yeah. Oh, but Mary, who this was like one of the only times where you're like, okay, Mary, like, thank you for that. Because she was like, oh, hell no. Like, you're letting these girls into your country. This is rude.
Yeah.
You're being prejudiced because they're conjoined. So she went into San Francisco to, like, the San Francisco Chronicle or something. She went, like, to a newspaper and told them what was happening. Like, there's these 2 12-year-old girls. They're being prejudiced, like, everybody's, like, prejudiced against them. It's because they're conjoined. They're perfectly healthy. You need to let them in. So that she, like, caused a big stink so that they would be let in, and they were.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing. Like, she was very forceful.
She put the pressure on.
Yeah, they let her in.
She beat them with her belt. They were like, no. Yeah.
So they eventually make it into the United States, like, legally, after going through the port. And they hook up with the Worthing Carnival Circuit.
Yeah.
And become part of the Midway Sideshow.
Yeah.
So it's like you were talking about earlier, like, it's just like the freaks, like, if you guys have ever seen American Horror Story Freak Show, that's like very like it illustrates exactly, like, you have a bearded lady and you have a lobster boy and the conjoined twins, and you have like
lizard man
people,
or like
lizard
tattoo face man.
And you have like the world's strongest man, whatever.
Yeah.
It's all arranged.
Yeah.
And people who are like born like with, I guess, these deformities were considered royalty because they weren't faking anything. They were just who they were, which was like good in its way, but also kind of fucked up.
Yeah. Because like there's like the sword swallowers and stuff, which it's like you're kind of doing a magic trick in a way.
Yeah, it's like a skill you have to learn.
Right. Whereas like a lot of the people who looked different and they couldn't control it, somehow, they were royalty, which is, cool, like you said, but also like, oh, I don't know. It doesn't, it wasn't like a good vibe to be in. Like
the whole point was for the show to make money.
Right.
And the way that they made money was being novel and weird. And the things that people would pay for were these things that weren't quote unquote tricks.
No.
Like they were real people.
Yeah, this is what's fucked up. Like the lady with no arms, for instance. Okay, or the bearded lady. People would pay. So the Midway show was like, you know, you go to the carnival and there's like the normal. There's like the big kind of normal show, which is probably like more vaudevillian. That's all the way at the end, and the Midway is all the stuff on the way. It's like midway to like what the main kind of area or act is at the carnival. Right. Like so. It's just like another little offshoot that you pay extra money for. And what they would do is they'd go in and say it's a woman with no arms. You'd just watch her like brush her hair or drink a cup of tea, but she'd do it with her feet because that's how she. But that's all she's doing. She's just doing normal stuff, normal everyday stuff for her. But people are gawking, and you could see how it would be really upsetting, I think, to the people, and it's very exploitative. If that's the word. And like, yeah, it's just really sad. But I think what was interesting about the Hilton Sisters is Meyer Myers kind of kept them out of that crowd a little bit because he was like, they were super like possessive of them, one. Yeah. But two, they could sing. So they actually got to do more of like this. They started to do a little bit more of the stage shows that were quote unquote the normal people, which is cool.
Yeah, totally. And they kind of like had their own little separate little show. Yeah. And they became like kind of like the main attraction, I think. Yeah.
It was like, they can sing, also they're conjoined. It wasn't like, come look at these conjoined girls. It started like
they were truly talented. Yeah. And they weren't just like sitting there reading a magazine or something. They were doing things.
Which I want to plug the documentary I watched because it's very good. It's called Bound by Flesh. Did you watch that too?
Mm-hmm. No, but I read about it a lot.
It's so good.
It's very sensitive to the fact that, you know, these are
ladies,
2 women, and they had to live their life in this like very strange way. Yeah. And it's very sympathetic to them, and it's a good portrayal. So I've read of their lives.
Well, it's super cool because you get to see a lot of the footage of them performing, and you're like, oh yeah, like they were really beautiful singers. By the way, too, like they're only 12 at this point, but they're lookers. Like they were both
they're beautiful
women. It gets a little, I would say, they get a little sketchier as they age because they draw on their eyebrows, and one of them draws them on very high, and it's a little alarming.
And the other draws them like straight. Yeah.
It's a little.
You're like, girl, no.
Yeah, but like their faces, you know, they're like very beautiful. They have beautiful hair and stuff. So, so they're starting to get attention, not just because they're conjoined, which is nice.
Yeah, more people, and especially in the U.S., because we're all a bunch of fucking weirdos. Yeah, like, who can't be cool, start, you know, we're giving them all attention, and basically eventually Mary Hilton, or Auntie Lou, whatever you want to call her, she dies. Bye. I don't know. Who cares? Who cares how she dies? She sucked. She was a bitch. She fucking beat the shit out of him and was terrible and was like the worst stage mom you could ever imagine.
Oh, yeah.
And in her will, she bequeathed the girls to Edith and Meyer Myers. So she treated these girls like objects. Like she didn't say that they were caretakers. Like it didn't stipulate that in her will. It literally referred to them in her will as like they were referred to like an object.
Oh my God.
They were bequeathed to her oldest daughter and her husband Meyer Myers. So
rude.
Meyer Myers, obviously, as the man in the early 1900s, I think this is like 1930s, took charge of the situation and became their guardian.
And he was an asshole. Yeah. He was also a beater.
Yeah, he was abusive to them. He would, anytime they would act out or try to like do something he didn't like, he would beat the shit out of them, just like his mother-in-law. And he also threatened to institutionalize them if they disobeyed him. So they just like always had some sort of threat of violence or prison, basically held against them. So it was fucked up.
And I don't think I don't really think they were educated because they were always like in the carnival circuit.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like today, if you're a child actor, how you have to go to like the school trailer on the set or whatever. Yeah. Like
you're literally required by law to like have a tutor. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it wasn't like that.
No, they did not have anything like that. They were surviving.
Yeah.
Like the best way they could.
And they had no alone time because when they traveled, like he and Edith would make them stay in the same hotel room and like always had an eye on them. So like they couldn't be alone. They couldn't run away.
Like, yeah, with them. I mean, they were never alone as it was. So.
Yeah. Oh, true.
But like
only in their mind.
They could just, that's, man, I can't imagine.
I get so annoyed. Like, I just, I couldn't imagine like having never being by yourself ever.
I love my alone time.
Like, even if they just move, say, because like these ladies would go for weeks without talking sometimes because they'd get
like they loved each other.
Yeah.
They had to.
Yeah.
And they were literally connected, but they were also like very like mentally and I think like spiritually connected to each other. So
yeah.
But still, like,
you get annoyed.
It doesn't matter if you can. There's so many people I love so much that like I just can't imagine spending every single second of the day with them.
No.
Like I need my alone time. I have to recharge my batteries so I could be a kinder person to that person that I love.
Yes. And I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine like you just, even if you weren't talking, like, and you're just kind of like facing away and you're both reading a book, every time the other one moves, like you would feel it and I would just be like, ugh.
God damn it.
Oh my God. Like, don't scratch your face. It's annoying.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but still they loved each other very much.
Yeah.
And they advocated for each other as best they could.
Yeah.
And so they eventually moved on to, they got older and they were doing vaudeville, which was very popular at the time in the 1930s. Mm-hmm. And they became one of the highest paid acts in vaudeville at the time.
Yeah.
They were making somewhere between $2,500 and $5,000 a week, which is a lot of money for them.
Oh, they were the highest vaudeville paid act.
Yeah.
Literally. Yeah, and it's sure. Like, and they performed with people who are way more famous. I'd never even heard of these ladies, but I've heard of like Bob Hope, Charlie Chaplin, George Burns. Like they performed with these men on the same stage.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy.
They were at the top of the pinnacle of like performers.
Yeah.
They also were very good friends with what's his name? Harry Houdini. They're really good friends with Harry Houdini. And he's the one who eventually like talked them into suing for their wages because still at this point as adults, they were still having all of their money taken from them. They were not seeing a dime of money.
By Meyer Myers.
Everything that they made. Everything they were making was going straight to Meyer Myers and Edith.
And
they were not getting anything.
Houdini's also the ones that told them if you're going to survive, like legit survive, you have to be alone in your minds. He was like, that's like that's the only place that's private for you because you always have someone right there. So he helped them like with their mental health, I think.
Oh,
he's a magician.
Yeah.
He is magic.
But like a cool magician.
Yeah, like not like a fucking mystery pickup artist asshole piece of shit.
Yeah. Not somebody trying to pick up women. He was literally like a good person who was just like, I understand fame.
Yeah.
It's a lot of stress and I can't like he was very empathetic and was their true friend, I think, and helped them understand how to kind of navigate some of this bullshit and help them talk them into suing Meyer Myers, basically. Like, he's like, you guys need to, this is bullshit. So.
Well, and it was at this point because they were now older. Okay, they're known as the San Antonio Siamese twins, which is offensive, Erin said.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
I kind of knew it was, but I wanted to be sure. But she said yeah. So, but that's what they were called. I'm just reporting the facts. Also, at this time, they're in their like 20s, I think, maybe, and mid 20s, maybe early to mid. And Houdini met them and tells them this stuff. And then they're like, yeah, we are different people. And we've always felt like different people. But they started to become more of separate entities from each other and have their own personalities. Yeah. And like Violet is on the left. Daisy is on the right. If you like look at a picture of them, Daisy started dyeing her hair blonde. This was so like, and she did this for years up until like right before they died. So she became the blonde one. And she's the one on the right. Violet started drawing little skinny eyebrows, but she drew them on higher than Daisy. And like you said, Daisy's like the flat eyebrow one. So they started doing things where like you could see their own personalities started.
They're differentiated from each other.
Like any
twins.
Needed that. I think like any identical twins, like, yeah, you know, you start wanting to have your own personality.
Yeah, but like identical twins can get away from each other and like play pranks on people.
And you could look totally. Oh yeah.
like they could be like, "What are you talking about? I was just here. I literally was just in the room when you told me that. What are you talking about?" And it was the other one, you know, and they could just like fuck with people.
Yeah.
I mean, these girls couldn't get away from each other. They had to like they were stuck together and they had to differentiate. They had to be individuals. So can you fucking imagine?
Oh, but can we just talk for a second about like pooping, for example? Like because they had separate buttholes. They had separate buttholes. So they ate separately. They had separate buttholes. That means they both had to poop at different times, but the other one just had to fucking hang out there.
Like, what do you do? Do you have like a stool that's next to the toilet? What do you do?
You'd have to have two stools because if the left twin was on the toilet, the right one would have to be on the stool to the right.
And you'd have to have enough clearance space around the toilet to have said stools.
What if, you know? And what if you want to like diddle your own bean? Like, what happens?
You can't.
You can't. You just have to pretend you're never horny. That you never are.
Maybe you can. I don't know. One of them had we'll get into it.
Yeah. Both of them. Well, I mean,
both.
They were sexual women. They had relations.
Yeah. They did.
You guys, one had a baby. I can't. Yeah. I can't even wait till we get to that part.
Dude. So intense.
That means someone did it with her while the other one laid there. That is mind-boggling to me. But we could revisit that, I guess.
Yeah. So anyway, they go on to sue Myers. They gain their freedom.
Yeah.
They win $100,000 in a settlement.
Yeah.
And at the advice of their friend Harry Houdini. And then they start being independent. But however, at that same time, vaudeville starts to lose popularity. So they start doing burlesque.
Yeah.
And then they star in this movie called Freaks, and that's where that chant, "Gobble gobble, one of us," comes from.
Gooble gobble, one of
us.
Oh,
gooble gobble, gobble, one of us, one of us.
It's very good.
Yeah, that's where that chant comes from.
Yeah,
that movie, and they were in it, and it's like 1930s.
Yeah.
Yeah, gooble gobble. So then they're becoming very individualistic and start dating men.
Yeah.
Because they're sexual beings.
They're beautiful.
They're
all, I think also dudes are like kind of interested like in the whole like magic around it being two ladies.
And also sisters, and they're like, people are sick fucks, but like also no shame, you know, whatever. But
yeah.
The people who are like into it are like into it. I think.
Yeah. But they had. Yeah, I think so. Lots of dudes were interested. Like, they dated a lot of the band leaders of the shows they would do. Or like,
I think they were like super charming.
Yeah.
I think they were super charming, super beautiful. They'd lived this life of show business. So they were like very sophisticated, I think.
Yeah.
In terms of like knowing what the world was. So, yeah.
And they had this like special phone booth that like I think they'd go.
This is so much.
This is like how they did their courting, because like you can't say something. You know, the one twin could always hear you, so it's not like you could be like, "Oh yeah, I think you're hot" or whatever. So they like made a phone booth, which was like the public ones back in the day, where it had like a sliding door. So like they had kind of like a door that would close most of the way, and then they'd go in the phone booth and they'd call their lover and tell them all the things they wanted to do to them, and so the other one couldn't hear.
Wow. They were really making it happen. They figured it out. God bless. Good for them. Sisters doing it for themselves.
Oh my God.
They eventually both got married. This is sure. I mean,
they did, but to both gay dudes, and they were both stunts.
Yeah, so the state, so this is the thing. Being like a person that's not fully like a person alone.
Yeah.
That's one thing. Like physically, you're always connected to somebody, but the state does not recognize a marriage that is also between a man and like two women, essentially.
Right.
That's bigamy.
Yeah.
So this was like always like 27 states denied them the right to marry. So
that's so sad.
It's really sad.
But also it was a sham of a marriage because it was a publicity stunt.
Yeah, and
it was so wild.
This is a wild time.
Well, and which one gets pregnant?
Daisy.
Oh yeah. Okay, so they both have marriages that are both publicity stunts anyway, to like these two actor dudes. But also in between both of them getting married, Daisy got pregnant and gave birth to a boy in one of the Twin Cities, but I don't know which one, but it's ironic.
Oh my God. How? Why? What?
Okay, this is what she gave him up for adoption because I think she was kind of like a prisoner in a way of what she, like they had been freed from Meyer Myers, but still like they didn't have that much money and they were like on this circuit, and she's like, we can barely provide for ourselves, let alone a child. And also she wasn't married at the time, and it was like some random dude. So she gave the baby up for adoption. But I'm just like really impressed that this happened medically.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. And the other twin was there for it, just like hanging out.
Obviously.
Yeah.
She's like, fuck, dude, this is wild. What do I do?
But like I wonder, she couldn't feel any of it probably because they didn't share. Like actually, they shared like a circulatory system, so maybe. But yeah.
I mean, that'd be nice because like you would have somebody there just like petting your head, holding your hand. Until they got tired of it and were like, can I take a nap?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, but then she's like, can you keep it down over there? I'm trying to take a nap.
Yeah. Yeah. And
or she's just like
fuck
drinking.
You, bitch.
She's just like drinking through it, like smoking cigarettes.
They have the same circulatory system, so
yeah.
I don't know.
That's weird.
Yeah.
But there's a guy out there that's probably alive right now that is the biological son of these two conjoined twins, of one of the conjoined twins.
He's like what, in his 70s now?
He was probably born in 1930 or 4. Yeah, the 1930s. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
1940s. Yeah. Maybe. Oh, I was going to say maybe it's my dad, but only because he's 70. But I know who his mom is. She's my grandma.
I was going to say maybe it's Donald Trump. But no, he has a very striking resemblance to his mother. So
she was a handsome woman.
Yeah, well, her hair. It's like cotton candy.
She had cotton candy hair.
On a toothpick full of earwax.
Okay, but then, this is like, it gets sad now.
Yeah, well, it's been sad. It's been sad for a while.
It's been sad. Their whole life was sad. But also, I feel like they had like some celebrity and like had some, like they had people courting them and stuff, and I feel like maybe for a little bit they felt like individual.
The sun was shining on them.
Yeah, but maybe they were still depressed on the inside.
Yeah, so they start to lose popularity.
Yeah.
They do a film called Chained for Life, which is very loosely based on their early lives. But then the plot becomes very fictional because I think it might have been like a little accurate in the beginning of how they were like bought and then did this like life of entertainment. Yeah. But then it becomes a plot where one of them commits murder and has to be like executed, and they're like, how do we like, we can't do that if like one did the murder and the other didn't. It was like a very interesting plot of like, you know, how do you, this is like two separate people. I don't know,
it's like a riddle.
Yeah, it was an interesting plot, but it ended up being it was a literal B movie, and it was like bad and exploitive, and it was an exploitation film basically. Burlesque was not lucrative.
No. They started doing burlesque, but I don't think in the movie I watched, Bound by Flesh, they said I don't think they showed their titties, and they wore like outdated old lady outfits kind of, so like they weren't wearing booby tassels, and people were just kind of like meh. And also people realized they couldn't dance. I think it's because they had two left feet.
Oh my God. No.
Yeah, but it was.
I mean, they did. Well, they had two sets of feet. They had four legs.
Right. I mean, so they had two left feet.
It's
a lot. Get it. But also they started like smoking and drinking a ton. And I think they were clearly unhappy. They didn't fit in with the burlesque scene, but it's all they could do. And also, like, I think dudes were kind of like, okay, you're conjoined, but, like, show us your tits. And they were like, no. And they're like, okay, then we're going to, like, look at these other ladies. So they weren't making money.
It's just sad. And so, so they just kind of, all their money dried up. They tried to do a couple different things. They opened a burger stand in Miami, which didn't work out because all the like people, like all the vendors around them were like real assholes and not tolerant at all of them. So they had to shut down.
There's a place in Hollywood that Pete and I go to sometimes called Twin Sliders. You get two sliders, and I wonder if it was inspired by them.
Maybe. Yeah, so that was like 1955. They opened up the snack bar in Miami.
Yeah.
That didn't work out. Then they went on a final tour of drive-ins, which you wrote this, and I thought it said diners, drive-ins, and dives. And I was like, if only Guy Fieri was alive for them. Like, he could have taken them on a tour of Flavortown.
Oh.
I feel like if they had their burger stand, Guy Fieri would have gone, and it would have been a good time.
Oh, double the bleach tips, double the fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was drive-in movies.
Yeah, I haven't seen a drive-in on diners, drive-ins, and dives.
No.
Just dinery.
Yeah, it's mostly diners, and diners.
Yeah.
It's not even really dives that much.
Not even dives, yeah.
Not a real dive. Like, they're all fake dives.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, they were doing this final tour of a drive-in though in 1961, and their tour manager left them at this gig in North Carolina in Charlotte.
What?
Like, what the fuck? What a fucking asshole.
What happened? Like, don't leave them. And they had no money.
They had no money.
They were just like these like 50-year-old ladies or something. How old are they then? Yeah, like in their 50s.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It's so sad. So their tour manager, who's a fucking asshole, left them. They had no money. They're stranded in Charlotte, and they eventually got a job at a supermarket in town, weighing produce and promoting twin pack potato chips, which, you know, cool. they actually really like their life at the grocery store, at the supermarket.
Yeah.
And Daisy actually ends up getting sick, and she comes down with the Hong Kong flu in 1969. Or maybe, like early 1969, late 1968. I'm not sure. Yeah. Well, Hong Kong flu, you might remember from our last episode, is what Barbara Mackle had.
Oh, yeah.
And this is how this episode is loosely connected to the last episode.
But Barbara Mackle was a healthy, singular human. And
who was young also.
Yeah, but
in her 20s.
Yeah, but Daisy was a older lady connected to another human, and she with a history of smoking and drinking.
Yeah, they were just in decline, and when Daisy caught the Hong Kong flu, they went down for the count, and they were still working at the supermarket at the time, but they failed to show up for their shift one day, and the police came and found them both dead in their home. So
they were sitting on the space. They were sitting over the heater in the hallway, huddled together. Ugh. Well, huddled together, like connected together, same difference.
Yeah, but probably holding each other. It's so sad. So Violet. So Daisy got the flu and died first.
Yeah,
and then Violet was connected to her, so she died a few days later.
Oh,
we don't know exactly. It was like 2 to 4 days later.
That's so awful.
What the coroner? Yeah, can you fucking imagine? You're trapped. You can't, and you're also. She was obviously also sick too.
Oh my God.
I think, and was weak and
I don't know.
Move, you know.
I don't know if she was sick too, but like because you're sharing a circulatory system.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because around that time, a doctor had passed through this town they were living in North Carolina. I think they lived in Charlotte or like outside of it.
Yeah.
And he had said, hey, ladies, like, you know, if you're interested, medicine has come a long way. I can like remove you from each other if you want. Like there's a surgery we could do. It's not, you know, you guys don't share any vital organs. I could separate you. You could be on your own. But they like had spent their whole lives together and they just like loved each other so much. And they're like, no, we don't want to do that. And had they done that, either both of them would have survived or at least one would have survived. But because the one died, whether the other one had the flu or not, doesn't matter. Because once you die and you're sharing a circulatory system, like their skin's dead and their blood's dead. And that starts to infect you, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And it's gross and sad.
Oh,
but gross.
Awful.
Also.
What a way to go, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, so awful.
Just like you're...
So sad.
Oh, it's so sad.
So God bless these two women.
Yeah.
I feel so bad. I didn't realize, like, when we did the episode on Barbara Mackle, I peripherally looked into the Hong Kong flu because I was like, this seems like a very strange flu. What is this? And then I saw that it was also, they, you know, related it to the Hilton Sisters.
Yeah.
So I started researching it and I was like, holy shit, this is a crazy story. So that's why we did this episode on them. And it's just, what a terror. I'm sure they had some joyous times in their life, but like for the most part, they had a very rough life.
Yeah.
Very sad, very
you're a carnival
full of abuse.
Sideshow. Yeah, they were abused and like they never got a formal education. They were part of like a traveling sideshow, which at the time they were children and they were part of this, like, you know, it's one thing to enter into that as an adult. Maybe you're the bearded lady or whatever, and maybe you haven't found your place in life, but you find that you're connected to these other people who are born with things that are different about them, and you could party with them and whatever. But they were like so sheltered when they were part of that they never bonded with these people. They were kept separate. They didn't get any of the money from it. It's so sad. It's just like really wasn't something fun. And then even when they made it to vaudeville with Bob Hope and performing with George Burns, and they made friends with Houdini, like they still were sheltered, it feels like, and maybe never I don't know. Yeah, it's just sad.
It's so sad. I feel so strongly for these women. I can't imagine just not having any individuality and autonomy over yourself in the way that they deserved.
But also, do you think it was something like they did have something very special?
Oh, they were very special. I
with each other, amazing. Though. I mean, like that's something.
Oh, absolutely.
That's like a weird bond that, like, even like you know how they say the twin bond's so strong, and like some twins are like they know when something bad happens or something good happens, even though they're not together. Like they could like sense it.
Yeah.
You could really like sense and feel. What the other person's going through or doing, and so they were very like. Obviously, they were close in proximity, but like I think like they were physically close in emotions.
And emotions. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Would you embrace it in a way? I guess I'm asking, like, if you were a conjoined twin, or even if you had something that was like very different about you, would you embrace it and like acknowledge it, or do you think you'd like not want to be bothered about it?
Well, here's the thing, like. That for me personally, I guess like my personal experience would be to embrace it and make jokes about it or whatever.
Okay, same.
But if you're conjoined with somebody who doesn't have that same personality as you, it's not fair to them to like make them try to have the same reaction as you. So what do you do?
True,
you know?
because
I would want to protect that person if I was like stronger, like in that sense of like being like, oh, like let's make a joke about it, which is not strong. That's a defense mechanism, but like, you know,
but it helps you feel better about it sometimes. Like if you make jokes about yourself, then it helps you acknowledge it. Well, because I'm just curious about the like. Yeah, they have two personalities. One could want to watch TV and one could want to read, and one could be known as a bookworm and like not as like outwardly outgoing. Yeah, and one could want to watch TV and joke and make laughs, and that's fine. They're both completely separate. They have their own brains. So how do you like find an in between? It's all very interesting to me.
I mean, they're two separate people. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Truly. Like they are two separate people, and it's just it's unfair. I know that we say that it like seems like it's unfair, but like you said, maybe it's like they don't know anything else, so like they make it work in their own way. But you would I feel like you'd have to go through like some substantial like emotional intelligence like therapy to get to a place where you're like compassionate and empathetic. I mean, you'd have to be that way as it is if you're close with somebody initially, but like also just to keep moving forward in your life together. Like I feel like you'd need some help to. I just don't know how you go through like the teenage years though, where you're just like super hormonal and like awful, and I don't know.
They're joined by their butts.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right. So much cutting. Oh my god. I hope you guys still want to listen after this episode.
Oh my god. It's so hard. But thank you for listening if you've made it this far.
Yeah, thank you so much. We love you guys a lot.
Yeah.
Follow us on
social media,
Instagram, all the social medias, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at DTFU Podcast.
Yeah.
If you think that we
deserve
if you
money.
find value in this, if you find value in our independent production of this original content, you can go to our Patreon. It's patreon.com/DTFU Podcast.
Yeah.
We have shirts coming on our website. Check that out.
DTFUpodcast.com.
That's right. And that's it. We love you guys so much. Be excellent to each other always.
Yeah, be excellent. Oh, and next week we're going to have a holiday spectacular for you. So
spectacular.
And it's not, good. And it's not based on anything really fucked up.
No, it's
it'll
all fun.
Just be fun and games.
We're going to get you that jingle jangle. Yeah. If you guys know what Riverdale drug I'm talking about.
Oh, that sounds like Erin's like preteen obsession or whatever.
Yeah, Riverdale. Yes.
Okay.
Cole Sprouse.
Yeah.
Love you.
All right.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.